This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. PSN seems to be going all out for their summer sale, and with so many things on sale, it can be really easy to get lost in the sea of games. So here are a few titles that might be worth checking out, or at least adding to your wishlist for the first time. While Chivalry 2 was just part of PS Plus, you might have missed it, and in either case, this game is most certainly worth picking up. It has a very active player base, along with getting new content updates. Civ 2 is one of the best multiplayer games I have ever played, and it's a game, while it has a great fan base, it still deserves more eyes on it. It does fit into that melee niche combat system, but man are these matches a blast. The big battles make you feel like you're right in the middle of something grand like Braveheart, along with providing humor that you might see from, say, Monty Python. Chivalry is both epic and hilarious at the same time, and it's something that works very well for a video game. The action is easy to get into, and there's a lot of depth to enjoy. Plus, you can play plenty of bot matches if you want to, so you don't need to always play with human players, and you still earn rewards here as well. And it doesn't hurt that the soundtrack is amazing too. If you have a group of friends looking for something new to enjoy together, this is worth playing.
He's victorious!
Ghost Recon Breakpoint is one that launched in a very rough state. It was the follow-up to Wildlands, which honestly provided one of the best open worlds Ubisoft had ever done. There was an extreme amount of freedom in how you tackled the world, bases, and combat situations. Breakpoint had a lot to live up to, and honestly I just would have been happy with the sequel just being on par with Wildlands. It went in a looter-shooter direction with survival elements, and I honestly didn't really care for it. Ubisoft took much of the players' comments to heart, and worked to fix the game. So much so that it honestly is a great title now than it's ever been. You can now toggle and change different elements of the game to cater to your experience. Do you like the survival elements? Then turn them on and enjoy them. Or turn them off if you hate them. Do you like looter shooter drops? Then play the game like that. Or you can toggle the game to operate more like Wildlands unlocks. This even goes for plenty of other elements as well. It's odd, because I think if this game never failed like it did at launch, we would have never really got it in its state that it is in right now. And what I mean by this is that Breakpoint sort of operates borderline with being able to have mods that you can move on and off, just like with a PC game, except it's all built in here. The game is a great co-op and single player game, with all the freedom and options that were found in Wildlands. Plus, on the PS5, it boosts a higher frame rate, which is a nice touch. Breakpoint went from a mess of a game to something that I proudly recommend. Plus, Ironside is featured in some of the DLC with our only Sam Fisher.
Looks like you still got your mojo. Glad you haven't gone soft since Bolivia.
Yeah, you and me both. So what's the plan?
Watch my back. I need to retrieve some data.
Now, many people are probably familiar with Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Both are great games, and honestly I prefer them to GTA. I'm a sucker for a good Western. But before there was Redemption, there was Revolver on the original Xbox and PS2. This is a linear third-person shooter that honestly was almost cancelled before even seeing the light of day. Capcom was the original developer before Rockstar got their hands on it. The game holds up really well with violent shooting, and you get to play a cast of characters shooting outlaws in the West. There is some roughness to it, but it's full of memorable moments. If you want to see where Red Dead started, then give it a try. Sifu is a game that I'm horrible at, but it's also one that I really enjoy. The action is tough, and it takes a lot to really understand it properly. This is one of those titles that is not for everyone, but it is one that everyone should at least try. Plus, the opening is one of the best we have seen in a video game in many years. If you're up for a high amount of challenge, I recommend you give this a try. I am always surprised by what the indie market brings to the table. Either they are coming up with something creative that you don't get in the AAA space, or they're bringing back older style experiences that AAA developers are not interested in. Or sometimes you see a combination of both. Door Kicker's Action Squad is by far one of the finest indie titles I have ever played. Your mission? Rescue the hostages and defeat all of the bad guys. It's a side-scroller where you blast and save as many people as you can. There's a few different classes to pick from, each with their own stats, abilities, and weapons. The game is fun in single player, and this is the perfect co-op title to enjoy. And yes, there's local options. Plus, the soundtrack ranks as one of the best I have ever heard in a game. I only have good things to say about this title. With Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 coming out later this fall, you might be curious if the first game is any good, and it is. There are elements that do make it feel like it doesn't live up to its potential in some areas, but as far as the minute-to-minute gameplay is concerned, it's a very fun arcade racer. The low buy-in from it, with it frequently going on sale, means you'll definitely have a good value with even more of it now. The Mafia 1 remake is the type of game you want to play if you want to enjoy something a bit more old-fashioned, with a rich story, great writing, and just a really well-done single-player linear game. The fist fighting could use some work, and it's just serviceable, but thankfully the shooting is solid, along with the driving, and all the enjoyable weapons you get to use. The original Mafia is a great game, and the story is aged like fine wine. The gameplay in that game is dated in areas, so this remake is a great way to get new players on board. Give it a try. With a lot of attention focused on Final Fantasy XVI, you may have missed Stranger of Paradise. This game very much surprised me. I thought the marketing wasn't very good, and it did not sell the game well at all. But once I got my hands on it, it completely hooked me. Unlocking the new classes, being able to play the entire story in co-op, and the engaging action all work to create a memorable experience. Plus there's lots of nods and references to other Final Fantasy titles. It's a prequel I never knew I wanted, and it's well done. Terminator Resistance is easily one of my favorite games of the last few years. I am a big fan of the films, especially the first two. Resistance essentially acts as the true third film. It's all centered on the war. The story and characters were surprisingly good. What really stood out to me was the respect these developers had to the source material. We live in this odd era where much of Hollywood and entertainment wants to deconstruct or bring down our heroes. Resistance doesn't do that. They prop up these heroes, how a fan would see them, and how they are seen in their universe. There's a respect to the consistency of the first two films. Simply put, this is a game made by the fans, for the fans. Gameplay-wise, it's a mixture of solid first-person shooting, with a few minigames peppered in. Levels are a mixture of more linear directed sequences, with more open levels that are kind of like mini spaces with side missions and exploration to do. I love this game, and I don't understand why many critics gave this such a really low score. Most Terminator fans enjoy this title, and if you're just looking for a good first-person shooter, this is worth your time. So that's my list of titles to check out during the sale. Did any of my recommendations catch your eye? Have you picked up any good titles during the sale? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you would like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All of the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.